First thing I'm going to play is a little tune that I used to see on TV. This feller Buck Owens would play, and this is a tune I think was written by Don Rich. I've been sort of fascinated with this thing. I call it the secret music, and through the years I've had the great fortune of making friends and meeting some of my heroes in music, and sometimes getting to work with them and make records and things. And there's this kind of music that guys play in dressing rooms and in hotel rooms and things like that, and in guitar stores when you're warming up and all this kind of stuff. It's just it's kind of interesting, but it's this secret music, you know, that they don't play for recordings or for audiences and stuff. It's just like stuff they like to play in their living room and stuff. So I've been kind of fascinated with this subject, and as an example, my friend Bill Frisell, the great guitar player Bill Frisell and stuff, like when he and I play, we sit around and play and drink coffee in one of our kitchens or something, and there's this whole kind of repertoire that we play that hasn't got anything to do with any of the records we've made or anything, but it's just this kind of interesting kind of secret music. And I was just over at my friend Nick Forrester's house, and it's the same thing. Like, he has this radio show, and he's put out all these records and done all this stuff with his art. But then there's this kind of music that we play when we're sitting around. And so I've been working on this idea for about 10 years about just trying to make a set of music that's kind of like the secret music that people don't really get to hear. It's kind of like just weird songs and funny little things. So anyway, so this is something I like to play I just like the way the banjo sounds in this. 10 years old, the first banjo player I saw was Grandpa Jones. First professional guy that I saw that, you know, had records and things was Grandpa Jones. And this was in Temple, Texas in 1970. Maybe 71, I think 1971. It was interesting to see. String bean was on the bill as well, so I got to see the great string bean. He was an interesting banjo player. There's all these videos of him on YouTube where he would play with these sort of Nashville A-team guys, great players, but he had these really weird rhythms and things he would do on his banjo, and they would never catch it, you know. And so he's playing like, you know, on TV or something, and there's these, you know, great A-team session guys backing him up, but they're like missing the chords, you know, and he's just blazing away there, you know. Anyway, but he's an interesting guy. You know. Apparently he was good friends with Grandpa Jones. They fished together and everything. They're quite grumpy old guys. They're comedians, you know, but the stories I've heard, they're actually really grumpy old dudes, you know. Anyway, so this Grandpa Jones actually wrote quite a few songs. I believe he published more than 300 songs. And he wrote that song, 8 More Miles of Louisville, and some other ones. But this is one, I believe he played this on that show, but I grew up just liking this song. Well, I never was so lonely for my hometown. Seems I never was so far away. I can see that freight train a-blowing. I'll be gone before the break of day. I have to quit my daily rambling, pack up and start my journey back. I'm sitting on top of an old boxcar, sailing down that silver streamer train. Eastbound freight train, eastbound freight train, take me home again. Eastbound freight train, eastbound freight train, let me stay till the end, let the banjo play. No, I'll never stray from my hometown, never leave again to roam. You know that I was born to wander, I'm gonna stick around my home. I have to quit my daily rambling, pack up and start my journey back. Sitting on top of an old boxcar, sailing down that silver streamer track. Eastbound freight train, eastbound freight train, take me home again. Eastbound freight train, eastbound freight train, let me stay till the end. Eastbound freight train, eastbound freight train, take me home again. Eastbound freight train, let me stay till the end. Friend, in between freights and sure would be obliged if I could share your company. I know my words sound strange to you. If you wait till my song is sung and the story's told, you might come to understand. I'm old and bent and devil spent, running out of time, when not long ago I held a roll flush in my hand. I was a supermarket fool, I was a motorbike stool pigeon, robbing my own time. Thought I lost my blues, thought I paid my dues, thought I found a life to suit my style. And it was Spider John, a robber man, long, tall, and handsome. And it was Spider John with a loaded hand, taking ransom. And then one day I met Diamond Lil, she was the sweetest thing I declared that the summer wind had ever blown away. Lil, she had no idea my illustrious occupation, thought I was a saint on a sinner gone astray. But the word got around, and Lily left town, never saw her again. Tossing and turning, I've been causing my heart to grieve. I was a supermarket fool, I was a motorbike stool pigeon, robbing my own time. Thought I lost my blues, thought I paid my dues, thought I'd found a life to suit my style. And it was Spider John, the robber man, long, tall, and handsome. It was Spider John with a loaded hand, taking ransom. That is all the story. It's been these 30 years since I took to the road to find my precious jewel one. If you see my Lily, won't you give her my regards? You can tell her the spider got tangled in the black web that he spun. Tell him old spider got tangled in the black web that he spun. Y'all hanging in there with me all right so far? Yeah. I've been working on the banjo for 45 years, trying to figure the thing out. It's a tough study. If you're going to learn it, there's a line in a William Blake poem, Marriage of Heaven and Hell, where it says, "Oh, horrible, oh, pitiful state." That's something about the hot, burning dungeon thou shalt find thyself in such a pitiful career, or something like that. It's in that poem there. I wouldn't really know any different, though. It's about all I've ever done. I've been at it since, I've been practicing for 45 years. We've been traveling. I do about 130 shows a year, something like that, for since the 86. My training is actually in audio, but I've been practicing the banjo for a long time. Some nights it wins and some nights I win. I don't know. Texas cage match, 2 out of 3 falls, 10-round limit, Barnes versus banjo. I'm sorry? Yeah, I hope so. I've come a long way to play. But anyway. So anyways, I got my latest record's called Got Myself Together, and it's a bunch of new songs that I've written. I put out this record called Get Myself Together was the name of this CD. But right after it came out, this record company went under, and they lost their office and lost all their, I think the physical product itself got tied up, and I couldn't get the CDs. But there were some songs on there that some musician buddies of mine really liked, and I got a lot of fan mail on it and stuff. And this record company came to me and said, you know, we should re-record these because people can't get these songs. And so I would have never come up with that because I grew up using tape machines and stuff, and the first rule was never waste tape, you know. Don't ever, if you already got it, don't re-record it. But anyway, so I never would have came up with that, but this label thought it'd be a good idea, and it turned out it was a good deal. It was interesting to compare and contrast the two because I've been practicing for 10 years in between, so I hope I got a little bit better. One of my friends took a cello lesson from Pablo Casales, and I believe he was in his 80s at the time, and he told him he was still practicing 4 or 5 hours a day, and the maestro was still practicing, and my friend says, well, why are you still practicing? And he goes, I think I'm getting better. Keep at it, you know. Anyway, it's a sad state of affairs. I'm gonna sing this song here. I think I read this in a novel. I forget where I read this, but there's a typical story of loss and redemption where there's like a kid, you know, and he's like trying to get out of a little town or something like that, and his old man tells him, well, you got 3 ways out of here. You can work in a coal mine, you can make moonshine, or you can get on down the line. So I live in this little tourist town up there, and it's kind of like that. Those kids that grow up there, they're just like, they hate living there, you know. It's kind of, they want to get out of there and stuff. So anyway, it's kind of related to that, but it's a tune called Get It On Down the Line. I got old enough to realize that the life we had was tough. I asked my daddy why he thought a shack would be enough. 3 consumptive children and a life that ain't never fun. Here's what my daddy told me, son. You can work in a coal mine, make a little moonshine, a flat get it on down the line. To school just to learn to write and read. When you work behind a mule, that's the stuff you ain't gonna need. So I asked that lady if these books were gonna set me free. Here's what that lady said to me. You can work in a coal mine, make a little moonshine, or you can get it on down the line. Let the banjo play. So I asked my grandpa before he passed away, was there something he could tell me, maybe something he might say? Did the sunshine ever last, or was life the sweat of brow? Here's what my grandpa did allow. You can work in a coal mine, make a little moonshine, you can get it on down the line. Ask about our life. Well, I gotta bust my ass for children and a wife, and a stack of bills is piled so high that my work ain't never done. Here's what I'm gonna tell my son. You can work in a coal mine, make a little moonshine, a flat, get it on down the line. Thank you for listening to me play.
That thing's still warm?
It's okay.
It's full of whiskey, don't worry about it.
One of my friends used to say it's a brown viscous liquid that makes my stomach hurt. It fits the loose definition of coffee. There was this peanut cartoon one time where I think Sally brought Charlie Brown a cup of hot chocolate. And he takes a drink of it and he says, "It tastes like you dipped a brown crayon in hot water." And so she takes it back and she goes, "Needs more brown crayon." So I think it's time for a love song. So I'd like to send out a little love song I got here. This is called "Overdue." And the story about this song is it's like a little movie I got going in my head where this fella's like he's just fixing to tell his partner that he's in love with her, but he doesn't really have the guts to do it yet. And maybe the moment has passed and he just can't figure it out. I don't know, but he's trying to figure it out. But it's past time where he should have told her, but he can't figure it out. And he's just sort of on the fence about it. Here's how it goes. Let's check in with our lovers and see how they're doing here. It was overdue to come and tell you that I needed you too. Think about how life is strange. You get afraid of the psychic change needed. Maybe be my Valentine. I'll be yours and you'll be mine. I'm learning to forgive you, baby. Would you forgive me too? Don't give up on the sunshine, 'cause I can still learn a thing or two. Last night I was watching you sleeping. I touched your hair and felt your hand. You softly spoke and mumbled to me something that I tried so hard to understand. I laid back down and I listened to you breathing. Glad to know that I was your main man. I'm learning to forgive you, baby. Would you forgive me too? Don't give up on sunshine, 'cause I can still learn a thing or two. Keep your kisses coming down like raindrops. Waking up to smile at me. Making toast and tea for breakfast. I wash my face and I check the TV. I'm learning to forgive you, baby. Would you forgive me too? Don't give up on the sunshine, 'cause I can still learn a thing or two. I had this band for about 10 years called the Bad Livers. I don't know if you ever heard of those guys. Yeah? Some guys have ever bought those records? Our first record was called Delusions of Bandar. Matter of fact, that's a song I'm fixing to play. But we were real musical snobs, you know, like if anyone started dancing, we would change the song immediately. Terrible band. But yeah, I wrote that song as well. Delusions of Bandar. We did a lot of shows with this band called the Butthole Surfers, which is some buddies of ours there. And one night it was interesting. We played in Houston with the Butthole Surfers. I'm sorry?
Bitch and Camaro.
Yeah, they got a lot of cool stuff. I liked it. A couple of song titles I won't mention in mixed company, but they got some good ones. But we played with the Butthole Surfers, and this other industrial band had a bunch of guys from, I think, Public Image and some cool industrial bands. They were called Pigface. They were sort of like an industrial supergroup. But anyway, we played there, and then the next night we opened for the Dillards. So it's like we figured we covered all of Western music at that point. So we smashed our instruments in a fit of pique and became roofers. But anyway, figured that was pretty much all that there was. What more can you do? We played at CBGB's and all that stuff. But anyway, we had a lot of fun. We traveled around in a van constantly listening to all this crazy music and stuff. But anyway, we had Delusions of Bandar. I thought it was pretty funny name for a record. I was telling Dan here today, we made more money off our T-shirts than we did our music. You know? Everybody wanted a T-shirt that said Bad Livers on it, you know. See, with T-shirts too, you don't have to pay. The markup's like 400% on T-shirts. You know, like CDs, you got to split it with a label or something like that. But the T-shirts, it's all juice, baby. All gravy on them shirts, and then it's an ad for your band, you know. So the shirts were the way to go. Anyway, we sold a lot of those darn things. We had one that said corn-fed, inbred, and brain dead on the back. I think we sold like 10,000 of those shirts. It was unbelievable. We should have just set up and just sold the shirts and not even played. I don't know. My buddy in that band just sent me an old file, a scan of an old file. Our very first year we played 274 shows. We worked our asses off. Sometimes we'd drive, on more than one occasion we got in a van in Austin, Texas and drove straight to New York and got out of the car and played a show. And if you look on a map, that's a long drive. We did that more than once, you know. But it's funny, one of my buddies is that guy Jello Biafra. You ever heard of that guy? He's singing that band, the Dead Kennedys. And he's a buddy of mine. We were talking about that the other day, how hard everybody used to work, you know, like, man, all those bands, those SST bands and Black Flag and those bands, man, they worked hard. They constantly toured in a van, the Minutemen and all those bands, the Meat Puppets and everybody. And Jello was telling me that nowadays these bands will have one rehearsal and they start sending out demos trying to get a record deal. You know, they haven't even played a gig, you know. He has a little label in San Francisco called Alternative Tentacles. It's a really cool punk rock label out there. But he was laughing because he gets demo tapes from bands that haven't even played a gig yet, you know. And we would play like 274 shows before we even talked to it. You know, we were nuts. Nutty thing. But I'll play, this song here cost me a lot of money one time. I I didn't realize that I was being simulcast on public radio, and there was this. A lot of times at a show, you play at a show, there'll be like one guy who's really loaded, you know, and he just keeps screaming. And he just kept saying the song title over and over, the song Shit Creek, over and over, and he just screamed it at me for like an hour. And finally I said, shit, I'll play this song, just shut up, you know. He's right here, you know, and just, and I didn't realize it was simulcast, so it was on the radio. And so as soon as I finished, like, boy, I did such a great job here today. And the guy walks up to me and says, well, I just want to let you know you'd cost our station $10,000 in fines from the FCC for saying that word over and over, not just once, but like 8 times. I was like, oh, man, I had no idea. I didn't know. I was late to the gig and just walked up and played. They didn't tell me it was on. I was like, oh, man. You know, one more little anecdote before I play this song. My friend Paul Leary from the Butthole Surfers, his mother would never say Butthole Surfers. Never, and the entire time she was alive, she never would say it. She would call it BHS, I think is what she called it. She never said, but he never could get her to say it. As a matter of fact, I was at my mom's house one time, and Delusions of Bandar was on the coffee table, and there was a song titled Shit Creek is one of the songs, and the preacher was over there, and I saw him pick it up and looked at him, and he was sort of holding it like it was a dirty diaper at one point. He just put it down. Anyway, tough crowd. Yeah. You can't please all the people all the time, and most of those guys were at my gig last night. But anyway, this is a tune called Shit Creek. What can I do just to find peace of mind? Don't give me none of your lip, or I'll pack my grip. And leave it all behind. Leave it all behind. I live on Shit Creek, the shit stays about a foot deep. The dogs and flies go to harmonize. All the kids have dirty feet. The county feeds us once a week with chicken fried and pumpkin pie. All the kids have dirty feet. The county feeds us once a week with chicken pie and a pumpkin pie. A stolen kiss on a night like this. I went to school and broke their bread. Next 2 days I stayed in bed and counted sheep from between the sheets. Come to Shit Creek now and then. It's so damn good to have a damn good friend. And dry your eyes while the fiddle plays. Listen close to what we have to say. Please come to Shit Creek now and then. It's so damn good to have a damn good friend. And dry your eyes while the fiddle plays. And listen close to what we have to say. anybody here actually have one of those records?
Oh, yeah.
People here have, yeah, no kidding. Wow, we should have come up here.
Horses in the mind.
Yeah, we should have come up here and played more. Is I'm gonna play this tune called "Life in the Country." This one of my buddies is the musical director for the Stones, and he was in that band, the Allman Brothers. His name's Chuck Leavell. He's a great musician and been on a million records and things. He's a good buddy of mine down in Georgia. I got to make this record with Bill Frisell, him, and Darryl Anger, and all these guys. But this is a tune I wrote for her called "Life in the Country." I think sometimes I should travel with a translator because sometimes I have such a thick accent. Sometimes I think it's hard to tell what the hell I'm saying. But one time a guy reviewed a show of mine. He called this song "Laugh in the Country," L-A-U-G-H, in the country. So I wrote another song called that because I couldn't let that go. But anyway, it's called "Life in the Country." But the thing about writing these songs is, it's funny, it's like sometimes they're like downloads, you know. Sometimes you really got to work on them. Like I carry bits of paper and you read something in a novel, or I travel by myself a lot. You overhear people talking and arguments and justifications and brouhaha and all this when you're out in public by yourself on airplanes and whatever. Write down little things people say, weird turns of phrases that people say. Like the other day I was behind a truck driver and the sticker sitting on the back said, "How am I driving?" Kind of weird. I don't know either. But you see these weird things and you write them down, you know. But you work on them, you know. Like when I first started, it would take, you know, man, like you have your whole, they say you have your whole life to make your first record, you know. Then you kind of got to get on the hustle because you only got like a year's worth of experience to make the second one or whatever. So it's you run out of life after about 4 or 5 records. You got to start reading books or something because you've talked about your geometry teacher and your first boss and everything. So it's kind of, you got to come up with something else. Yeah, you should start reading more novels and stuff, watching movies and whatnot. But anyway, sometimes you kind of got to work on them and massage them over time. And some of them, they're just like complete downloads, you know. Like as a matter of fact, after this, I'll play you one more that was just like, they just show up like in perfect order and everything, and you just write them down and they're ready to go. It's weird. And this is one of them. I had this weird experience where I opened up my window in my bedroom and there was a dog barking out the window, and I just wrote the whole thing down, all the chords and everything. It was really strange. And then some of them, man, I work on these damn things for like 20 years. I still can't get it, you know. It's just, I don't know what it is. And sometimes you practice your ass off and you can't play at all. And sometimes you just pick it up and you ain't touched it in 6 weeks, or I'll never go that long, but like, you know, whatever, a week or something, you pick it up and you can play great. It's weird. But not enough to where you can make a system out of it or anything, just enough to confuse the hell out of you, I guess. Anyway, just like life. Anyway. So there's a tune called "Life in the Country." There's an old dog man in the back of the holler. Coffee costs $50. There's a big boy standing in the buffet line, and the gravy lumped up when he poured in the wine. There's a woodpecker sitting on a split rail fence. Peckerwood ain't really got no sense. New country music ain't worth a dime, and the radio plays it all the time. I long for the days when I picked guitar. I miss a little fiddle playing even more. All the kids made fun cause the banjo played. I think about the money that I ain't made. That's life in the country. It ain't like in the movies. All the poor folks are going hungry. That's life in the country. Well, the sweetest girl I ever had wanted me to make her daddy man. To be a man was a young boy's dream. There were no women on the football team. The coach can't spell, they taught my class. Some big cows just kicked my ass. Folks just wanna drink and screw. Fight in the country, let the banjo play. Thank you, guys. Hey, let's give it up to Steve here for letting us come in here. It's nice to play here. It's nice that people listen and friendly bunch of folks and stuff like that. Sometimes you get stuck in situations where you're kind of afraid, or there are people really loud and they don't listen. They sit with their backs to you and stuff while you're trying to play. It's kind of a hassle, you know. Because I played on the street a lot, you know, and it's like, I'd rather just play on the street, you know, because like you can set your own hours and stuff, and take a break and eat a sandwich if you feel like it or whatever. If it's gonna be like playing at the highway, I'd rather just play on the street or something. But anyway, it's not always like that. But sometimes you feel like you're like playing at people or something like that. I had this idea that like when it's just the complexity. I was reading this article about semiotics the other day about how many logos we get assaulted with every day, and I forget the number, some ridiculous number, 17,000 or something, 10,000. You know, it's an unbelievable amount of corporate logos you get. But it's like your nose. You always see your nose, but you choose to ignore it. Like you don't register them and stuff, but they're everywhere. You boot your computer up and you're looking at one on your phone. You know, you're driving down the street and there's all these logos everywhere. You know, and it's overwhelming. And I feel like a lot of times people are just overwhelmed. You know, and so I think that like art, for me the position of art should be minimal, minimalism. It's a perfect place for minimalism in face of this overwhelming complexity, you know. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do with my music, is with my show, is just it's like I represent a whole band, but everyone's split, and it's just me. And so I try to play the different parts, the bass line and the things, but it's just me, you know. So I'm trying to deliver it to you in a way that's not overwhelming. So, because you get so much information in a day, it's just ridiculous, you know. It's holy cow, and it's tough, even if you are sensitive to it, and you try to not. Like when I was a kid, I had my I'm a serious like brain injury person. I had my head crushed in this car wreck when I was a kid, and it's like sometimes information is just too much. It like overwhelms me. So I like it's just interesting to play this way rather than having a whole band and stuff, because it's like you can really hear what's going on. It's really intense though. Like when you go see a band play, it's like you can look at the singer, and then like you can look over at the bass player, you know, and like, oh, you can look at the drummer, and, you know, hey, what's the sound guy doing, you know, and you can look at your phone, you know, and everything. And there's always like a break. You can always take this break, you know. But with a solo person, it's just like you're sitting there. It's like that Warhol movie Empire. It's just like an 18-hour shot of the Empire State Building. It's like boom. It's like you just had to deal with it, you know. It's pretty intense. It's total punk rock. It's like totally intense. Anyway. And the masters of the form too. I mean, there's the curve is so high, you know, because like two guys that are complete masters of it. One is John Hartford, the late John Hartford, and I was lucky enough to become friends with John later in his life and stuff. And that was an amazing experience to be able to call him on the phone and talk to him. He would leave these weird messages on my phone and stuff, and it was great, you know, getting to know him. He was such a hero of mine for so long. And one time I got in a van with him at his house there, and I guess he lived it was in Madison, is what you call it, but it's like basically Nashville or whatever. But I got in the van with him, and he had a Butthole Surfer tape in the cassette player. I said, "What are you listening to this for?" He says, "I really like that song, I Saw an X-Ray of My Baby Passing Gas." Oh yeah. It's just so funny coming from John with that derby hat on, you know. And anyway, kind of interesting guy. But I've become somewhat friends with Leo Cocky as well. But Leo is just such an amazing guy at that. You know, it's just like, gosh, the grading curve is so high. You know, so it's like trying to do this is like going a few rounds with Joe Lewis or something. It's just like the grading curve is really high, and you kind of, you know, keep working on it and stuff. There's a lot to it. You know? There's all this whole thing about the vibe of the room and the people, what's going on TV, the news. Is a Super Bowl happening? Is Super Bowl not happening? You know, it's like, is there like a flood? Or like I was just in that damn hurricane down there playing down there. There was like a hurricane, you know. And I was playing in this county, and like 4 people were dead, and there was 10 people missing in the county. And then I'm like, oh, here's my gig, you know. Playing my banjo gig, you know. But it was cool, you know, but it was intense, you know. I kept thinking, I may not be able to get out of here. And then the Nashville Flood, I toured right in the middle of that. I was driving into Nashville. You remember that flood that they had there? I played in Lexington the night before in Kentucky, and I'm driving down 65, and, you know, I'm all by myself in a rental car, as I am all the time by myself, just driving, you know. It sure is raining hard, you know. And I start looking off the side of the highway. Well, there's a lot of water gathering up down there. And then I start seeing 18-wheelers floating in the, you know, like, holy shit. And then you can't get off the highway because all the cars are backed up, but they can't get off the road. So there's like 25 cars at the exit, but they're not going anywhere because they can't leave, you know. And I went right in the middle of it, you know, and there I was. So I was on I-40. There was a 60-mile-long traffic jam that didn't move. It was a parking lot, and it didn't move for 18 hours. And there was no cops, there was no restroom facilities, there was no, like, if you were going to have a baby, you were just going to have that baby or whatever. There was no way to get to the hospital, there was nothing. It was like pandemonium, you know. And the really funny thing was the Tennessee Department of Transportation never updated their site to tell you this was going on. It's like I'm looking at the website, it's like, traffic's great, moving great on I-40. Thanks a lot, Tennessee. It's 18 hours. No one moved for 18 hours in a traffic jam. No bathroom, no water, nothing. Kind of wacky. And then I was when that Malvo guy was shooting up DC with the sniper guy. I went right into DC on that deal. They had the whole city locked down. There I was. I missed 9/11. I came home on the 10th, and I woke up the news was on, and I woke up out of bed, and I had friends that were out that were stuck for like a week. They couldn't get home and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, these musicians, man, they really they're out there on the front lines of this stuff. It's kind of wacky.
It's a glamorous job.
Yeah, it's real glamorous. But if you just like, I don't know, I just like to play, so shit, I don't know.
Love hearing you.
What's that?
We love hearing you.
Yeah, that's good. Tomorrow I'm flying to California. I'm going to fly to California and play at the Banjo Extravaganza down there. Go down there for 6 days. Then I go home for 2 days, and then I go to Kansas City and St. Louis. And then at some point I'm going to buy a globe. So this I'm going to play one more tune that was a bit of a download, and this tune here is called Everything Fades. And this came from, I got off the ferry. I have to take a boat to go home, and I got off the boat one day, and there was a guy who was huffing gold paint in a bread bag in the street, and he looked up at me with this weird look, and this entire song started playing, and I wrote it all down, but it's a tune called Everything Fades. People on the street see me come down, and I don't think I can make it home. I can see cups and pencils laying on the ground, and a love light shine behind a frown. Then a quarter in the payphone where I long to make the call, just to tell you that your boy is coming home. Everywhere I wander, people chill me to the bone. I'm afraid to walk the street alone. She shined a light upon the day, but the sun went down, yeah, the blue skies turned to gray. Jesus helped me make a stand. Baby, everything fades away that was made by a man. Call an undertaker to paint my tombstone. Call me up a doctor that I find a vein. The days are long, I'm about to turn the tide, but I slip back down in the hole I'm in. I can see a candle in the window, make my way downtown again. My poor old daddy's sleeping in the graveyard. All the cops and the bums still know my name. She shined a light upon my day, but the sun went down, yeah, the blue skies turned into gray. Jesus helped me make a stand. Baby, everything fades away that was made by a man. You guys are very nice. Thank you for listening to my work. All right. I'll play one more song off that record. That was a record called The Things I've Done Wrong, was the name of it. Which started out, it was a Time Life book series. Edited down to a record. This is the title track off that record that song appeared on. This is called Things I've Done Wrong. Well, life done messed me up. I got a raw deal when my neck threw up. I sprayed a paint can in my face until I got so high I lost my place. I'm in fisticuff. I've been down so long everything looks up. I'm in a hotel of shifting sand. I got a little time here on my hand. Everything I done the hard way, son. It echoes in my mind like the wind beneath the pine. It'll make you sad to die for the time you did lie, but what chills me to the bone is all the things that I done wrong. Charlie Chan, spent a money, ate a lot of honey and drank soda water from a can. I've been hypnotized by the wiggling and walking their bloodshot eyes. I live my life like a man of means until I lost my ass in a Sharpie scheme. I read the sports page of 5 and dime. Sang a little song, try to keep good time. Sang a little song, try to keep good. Sang a little song, try to keep good time. Everything I done the hard way, son. It echoes in my mind like the wind beneath the pine. It'll make you sad to die for the time you did lie, but what chills me right down to the bone is the things I done wrong. Is the things I done wrong. All the crap that I did wrong. Y'all hanging in there okay? All right? This is it. This is the whole thing. Sorry? Okay. I live in this sort of working class neighborhood there up by Port Townsend, Washington, and it's a neat place. I've been there almost 20 years. I like the environment up there. It's really nice. It's kind of a different, sort of like bioregion. Like if you look in plant books or bird books, that side of the Cascades is sort of a different realm. There's like a rainforest up there, and it's really kind of interesting and different, I think. I don't know. I like to read a lot, so the rainy days, you just read, you know. But I practice the banjo or whatever. But a lot of the guys that live in my neighborhood work in like the mill and stuff like that. And for about 5 years, they never could figure out what the hell it is I do, you know. I could see them over there, a couple of them be over there in their yard, and they've been looking at me like, I was like, God, what is his deal? He's like, when he's here all day, and then he's gone for like a month, and what is that all about? He must be selling dope. Anyway, eventually got to be good friends with all these guys and stuff, and ride my unicycle around the street and everything. And there he is again, the same guy with a banjo. But anyways, I have this little place I practice in my kitchen table. You know, there's like a window right here, and then my neighbor parks his truck on the other side of my fence over there. And I was out there watering something or whatever, weeding something in my yard, and my neighbor says, "Hey, the strangest thing happened the other day." I was like, "Yeah? What? Like, what's he getting at?" You know? He says, "Yeah, I walked by your window and you were playing like these 3 notes on the banjo over and over, and then I got in my truck, you know, took off. And I went to work and I did a shift at the mill. Then I left and picked up some milk on the way home or whatever, you know. And I came home about 10 hours later and I passed by that window and you were still playing those same 3 notes." I was like, "Sorry about that. It's all that banjo practicing." My mother and dad thought it'd be really cute, you know, for about 3 weeks. I was 10 years old and I had a banjo, and it's like, that'd be great, he has a banjo, but I never stopped playing. So three weeks later, they were like, "Oh my God, this is a terrible idea." "Did you do that? Did you come up with this idea?" "No, you did. You came up with this idea. It's your fault." Anyway, it went from being like a Norman Rockwell moment to being like a Tennessee Williams play there. Anyway, I stuck with it. I said, "Hell, I'm just going to keep practicing." Anyway, I'd like to sing I have to talk, so I tune. I experimented with just not saying anything and just playing. I guess it's better for me just to tell you what I'm doing or something. Think of it as the subtitles to a Fellini movie. Anyway, this is a love song here called "The Big Girl Blues." It's on my latest CD. It's a song about the one that got away. You know, I seen Tom Waits one time on TV, and he was saying this was a song about the one that got away. So anyway, I like that, and I wrote this song kind of about that same impetus, so to speak. Well, my baby got the big girl blues, trying not to hold on to another man that'll bring her down with the sound of another round from the barrel of a drunken gun. Thinking he's the only one that'll love her when the lights get low. He's thinking, but he don't know. Big girl, don't cry, so dry your crying eye. Every man out there, you better just beware. My baby's got the big girl blues. You'll find her with her head hung down, trying not to make a sound that'll give her away her state of mind. It makes her kind of hard to find, but if you see her, tell her, "Hey, from me." There was a time when I wished to be standing with her in the morning light, laughing, joking, everything alright. Big girl, don't cry, so dry your crying eye. Every man out there, better just beware. My baby's got the big girl blues. That's the horn part. Backup singers. I'm gonna play it again. The banjo comes in. Nelson Riddle Orchestra. thought there was too much life to settle down as a man and wife. I let her slip away from me like Noah's dove on the endless sea. But I missed her at the strangest time. I didn't think she was on my mind. Here she come in the light of a smile. She was there shining all the while. Big girl, don't cry. So dry your crying eye. Every man out there better just beware. My baby's got the big girl blues. Thank y'all. All righty. I'm just going to pick you a couple more things and hit the hot and dusty trail. But one more time, a round of applause for Steve for putting on, having a cool venue here. It's awesome. Round of applause for yourself. Thanks for being here. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you coming.
Turpentine Willie.
Did you ever know the story where that song came from, Turpentine Willie?
I want to know.
There's this wacky neighbor I had. I lived in Austin there, and this crazy neighbor. It's like this grandpa that owned the house. His name was John. He had a son that lived there. His name was John. And this kid that was the youngest kid, he was about, I don't know, 20 years old. His name was John. So all three of them were named John. And they'd done some time and stuff, and they were kind of nutty guys. But they made you really nervous, you know, living next to the door to those guys. It was kind of rough living next to them. But this is a perfect example of what the hell, how that went. One time I wasn't listening, I promise, but I was cleaning my house and I had the windows open. And he actually, Turpentine Willie was my nickname for this kid, but he lived in this shed like you'd put your lawnmower in the yard. He lived there in that shed. And the sheriff, one time the SWAT team came, but mostly of the time it'd just be like 2 sheriff cars that would come get him. And I was sweeping, you know, and these sheriffs came and, are you John, I forget his name, we're here for serving a warrant for blah, blah, John so-and-so. And it was really funny, but I'm sorry, I overheard this. He was saying that he wasn't him, but the real guy they were after went down to get a pack of cigarettes, and if they would just stay there, he would go get that guy and bring him back. And the sheriff says, "Bullshit, boy, we were here to arrest you last week. We know that's you." And it was like, wow, man, this is a wacky scene here. It was like an episode of Cops, you know, that show Cops. It's like living next to that, you know. That show's really wacky. It's like they all have this guy in a lazy boy recliner, you know. And the SWAT team bursts through the front door with a battering ram. And he's just never really that surprised that they kicked through the door, and he's just kind of sitting there going, "Oh, it's you again." Anyway, that's kind of like living with Turpentine Willie next door. First time I met him, I said, I said, "Hi, my name is Barnes, and I'll be living here. I moved in here with my wife, and we just rented this place here. I'll be your neighbor." He says, "Would you like to buy some LSD or some Valium?" Well, there would have been a time in my life when I would have said,
So buy one, get one.
yeah, that's right. My addictions would have killed me a long time ago, except they needed transportation. They kept me alive for transportation. Anyways, so what I told him was, I said, "No, and if I catch you in my house, you're going to find yourself weighing about 3 bullets heavier." And that's the only thing I ever said to the guy. You kind of had to have a relationship with him like that. Yeah. We're done here. Scary guy. But I feel like it's my duty to play a banjo tune. I don't normally do that, but I like to play one. It's a tune from this guy, Don Stover, is my all-time favorite banjo player. And my dad, when he was alive, bless his heart, I had a wacky old man. He's long gone. He's been dead about 16 years, but he was really something else. But he was a 100% disabled vet from Korea, and he was a drag racer back in the 50s. And he was like an original rockabilly dude. But the only thing was, if you pissed him off, he would whoop your ass. That's the thing about it. That's the downside. But anyway, so he was a real aficionado of banjo playing. When he grew up in Alabama, and they would save for maybe like a couple of years, I think he said, to get to go to the Grand Ole Opry once in the summer, like maybe every couple of 3 years, they'd save up enough money where they'd all get to go to the Grand Ole Opry. It was a big deal. This has been about in the 30s, late 30s, early 40s, So it was a big deal. So he knew, he knew banjo playing pretty good. And whenever I would try to play this song, I've been working on this piece since 1972 or something like that, so I'm still working on the damn thing. But anyway, have you ever been to like a Little League game where the kid strikes out and he looks over at his dad and his dad just goes, complete humiliation. And it's kind of like that's the way my dad would look at me when I tried to play this thing. So anyway, I'm still working on it, so you have to bear with me on this. One of these days when I tell that story, the entire audience is going to go. It was brutal, tough audience there. That's where I came up with that joke. He was like a father to me, constantly disappointed. Anyway, so this is a banjo tune called Black Diamond. Okay, this will be my last tune I'm going to play for you. This is a tune called Road is the name of this song. And it's off a record of mine called Pizza Box. And I think I have some of those Pizza Box. Do you have that record?
Oh, yeah.
Pizza Box? Thank you. You put a lot of work into these things. Sometimes I wonder I'm not just throwing them off a cliff or something. You know? It's nice if people are listening.
It's all digital now.
Yeah, I know, it's hard. I remember I've been doing this. I started doing this. You had to get up to change the channel. It was a long time ago.
You signed up for Spotify.
Party lines. Yeah, that's right.
They've all had their albums.
Yeah, I get those royalty statements where it's like 8,000 plays, 27 cents. That's all right though.
27 cents more than that.
That's all right. Just keep listening. That's fine with me.
Actually get a pizza in there.
Yeah. I don't mind. I remember, man, when I used to try to get those records like in the 70s, man, it was tough. You know, you couldn't, nowadays I could play every record basically ever made on my phone at any time, you know, of course, as everyone in the room can. But it was like back in the day, it was so hard to get those records because you'd hear about something. Like you'd hear, there's this blues guy, Skip James or something, you want to get this record, you know. And you find some ad in some magazine or something, there'd be a record in there, and you'd order. And it would take like 6 weeks or maybe up 2 months, it would finally show up, you know. And then, because it was Texas and it was hotter than hell, it would be warped or something. And then you have to decide, okay, the first 2 songs won't play, but the rest of it will play. I'll just keep it. Or they'd send the wrong one. County sales, they would send the wrong record, you know. You'd order a record and you get the wrong one, you know. Sometimes it would be awesome, but then sometimes it would be something you didn't want, you know.
The wrong one melted, right?
Yeah. Yeah, those were always perfect is the way they were. Anyway, but it was just such a deal to get those records. It was hard, you know. You really had to put out a lot of effort to get them. It was hard, you know. But anyway, it was a real trick. But anyway, but this tune here is called Road, and I'll leave you with this one as you go gently into that good night, as they say. Here we go. I'm kidding. I got a painted lady waiting for me right upstairs. Got $100 in the underwear. Got a case of whiskey and a bottle of pills. That woman ain't never gonna cure my ills or pay my bill. By the side of the road, side of the road. Left it laying on side of the road. It's a heavy load, mama, what a heavy load. Left it laying on side of the road. Well, the businessman is hunting for the 2x4, and a housewife pushing for the gigolo. And there's an old dog eating in the garbage can. Well, the worst of the curse is the empty hand. The empty hand by the side of the road, the side of the road. Left it laying on side of the road. It's a heavy load, mama, what a heavy load. Left it laying on side of the road. I got a Ford Smith & Wesson in the car downtown. Got a hollow point safety on the chambered round. I'm selling methamphetamine to Jungle Jim. Until I crash the burn, drop the dime again. Drop the dime out the side of the road, the side of the road. Left it laying on the side of the road. It's a heavy load, mama, what a heavy load. Left it laying on the side of the road. Well, the preacher man told me about the blessing of Abraham. I got powder residue on the back of my hand. I got a scar on my arm when the time got hard. Well, I need a good woman in a rich man's yard. In a yard by the side of the road, the side of the road. Left it laid on the side of the road. It's a heavy load, my wood, a heavy load. Left it laid on the side of the road. Here we go. I know wanna get me high. I know where to get it and it on my mind. Gotta find the woman that did me wrong. I vomit up blood when I drank too long. I vomit up by the side of the road, the side of the road. Left it laid on the side of the road. It's a heavy load, my wood, a heavy load. Left it laid on the side of the road, by the side of the road, by the side of the road. Left it laid on the side of the road. It's a heavy load, my wood, a heavy load. Left it laid on the side of the road. Tim O'Brien would always say, I was just coming back to get my stuff. In honor of me getting on an airplane tomorrow, I'm going to sing a song called My Baby Works for the TSA. Y'all ever heard that song? Yeah? You guys are very kind to me. Thank you. I come a long way to play. It's nice that you're here. Soda water out in Arkansas. We fell in love and I met her old mom. Reckon that I never saw it coming at all. My baby, she's working for the TSA. My baby, she's working for the TSA. Met her in a Little Rock airport bar. We made love in a broke down car. I got a scratched up back and a broke down heart. My baby, she's working for the TSA. My baby, she's working for the TSA. With her hair in her bun, her hand on her gun, we made love with the radio on. The radio was on. Well, she ain't missed a whole lot of meals. I lie awake thinking about how she feels. And a good paycheck helps to seal the deal. My baby, she's working for the TSA. My baby, she's working for the TSA. Well, here I stand in the old Walmart. I got a shopping list on my shopping cart. I think she's pretty, she thinks I'm smart. My baby, she's working for the TSA. My baby, she's working for the TSA. With her hair in her bun, her hand on her gun, we made love with the radio on. She had a radio on.